All right, what is up, everybody? This is the NeoVintage podcast. I am Jabrell, and I'm here with...
Hi, guys. My name's Steve. I hope you guys are doing well today.
Now, for y'all who have never heard the show, understandably so, because it's the first episode, and who would have heard this show by now, we are a platform-agnostic podcast that talk about the newest happenings in video gaming. By platform-agnostic, we mean that we like all consoles, so... We're not really fanboys in any direction. We have our preferences. He definitely has a preference for PlayStation. I'm kind of all over the place. I like a little bit of Xbox. I like a little bit of Nintendo. I like a little bit of everything. But we just talk about the biggest stories of the week, and then we have a loose topic at the end of different topics that we choose to talk about for that. So, first off, what have you been playing?
So, I've been playing mainly kind of three main games I've been playing. A little bit everywhere. So, I've been playing the Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind DLC.
Okay.
That's where I leave that.
Okay.
Gameplay. If you're looking for more gameplay-wise for Kingdom Hearts, it's there. If you're looking for anything else besides that, look elsewhere.
Okay.
Besides that, I've been playing a Wii U game I've actually never... Well, it's on Switch now. Tokyo Mirage Sessions, Sharp FE, Encore.
Okay.
I really like it.
Really?
I really like it. I'm surprised. It's it's more Persona than anything.
Okay.
It's like Persona and like pop style, so it's actually really well. It's a really, really well JRPG, which I was surprised on. And besides that, I've been just kind of slowly getting through Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order.
Okay.
Great game. I'm sad that I missed like kind of the hype train when everyone was talking about it, playing it, but I really like it, and I'm kind of just taking my time with it.
Yeah, we got a topic about that later, so we can get into that. I've been playing, first off, Pokemon. I'm on the latter half of it right now. I just got the 8th gym badge.
Okay.
I would say no spoilers, but the franchises have the same format for the last 20-something years. But yeah, I just got all the gym badges, and I'm headed towards a champion now, and I know there's like a great deal of like stuff to get to that town, so I'm kind of working my way down there. Now, really enjoy it. I would say it doesn't do too much to reinvent the franchise, and every game seems to have that gimmick. You know, sometimes they have this one's Dynamaxing, and they always have these different mechanics that they add to freshen things up.
Mega Evolutions.
I don't really care about the Dynamaxing. I don't really care for it. I know when I go to do a gym battle and all of a sudden they're big and I'm just like, oh god, okay, here we go. But I've been enjoying that on the latter half of that. A lot of Switch lately. Also playing Coffee Talk. I actually got a video coming for that. I wanted to play a little bit more of the game because it ends up being a little bit more dense than I thought it was going to be. But I'm really, really enjoying it. The best way I could describe it is kind of like the game Valhalla, except that's way more cyberpunk. This one's more of a lo-fi, coffee aesthetic, a little bit of hip-hop, a little bit of indie folk, and really, really enjoying it. It's kind of like a talking simulator, and it has the barista stuff where you make people drinks. You can do latte art. It's really fun as somebody who's a bit of a coffee connoisseur myself. So really enjoying that. And then the third one's kind of a weird one. I randomly had the impulse, I want to play KOTOR. It's weird. I started playing... Yeah, I've been playing a lot of KOTOR lately. I'm a couple hours in. And then randomly, I bump into the story where it's like, oh, they might be making a new KOTOR. And I was like, there is no way. There is no way. It's like the best timing ever. Mm-hmm. I've just been getting really into Star Wars lately. And I've been rewatching all the movies. I started watching the Clone Wars television show. And so I was like, I kind of want to jump in and get a lot of lore, and what gets more lore heavy than the KOTOR games. And I didn't have an Xbox growing up, so this is kind of my first time getting through it. Really enjoy it. It's crazy how much Mass Effect you see in that. It's crazy. Yeah. There's a lot of early like Mass Effect stuff in there. Early BioWare game, obviously Obsidian did the second one.
They did, yeah.
And so you see where they did Dragon Age, didn't they?
BioWare did.
Yeah, BioWare.
BioWare.
Yeah. So you see a little bit of Dragon Age in there. You see a little bit of Mass Effect in there. And I'm really, really enjoying it. Is it super clunky to play? Oh, yeah. Like, the battle mechanics are nuts. And you could see, like, they were trying to take stuff that was popular on PC with, like, the real-time action and bring that into, like, an action game on the original Xbox. I see what they're trying to do there. Really enjoy it, though. I like the characters. I like how deep lore it is. The dialogue is a little nuts and kind of cringeworthy, but I get a lot of real fun times out of it, and I get why it's established such a big fan base. So, into the main topics. Introduce the first story.
So the first story comes via writer Andrew Smith, and it's possibly rumored, almost kind of confirmed. Wonderful 101, it was originally a Wii U game by Platinum Games, exclusive to Wii U. And it's apparently coming to Kickstarter so that it can be ported, so they can have the funds to port it to PS4 and Switch, which is, it's thrown off.
It's strange, yeah.
Yeah, it's really strange. Like, I think it originally comes from Game Explain, who pretty much shared the video theorizing that it should be kickstarted. the Kickstarter page is up for Platinum Games.
Yep.
That didn't exist before. They didn't have it for any other reason. And then pretty much, I mean, another, internet personality, Did You Know Gaming, or what's his real name? Liam Robertson. Yeah, I keep missing it. A big fan of his.
Okay.
Pretty much came out and was confirming. He's like, yeah, apparently they're going to announce it very soon. They want to have a trailer. It is a little strange because it's aiming for them to publish it on their own to other consoles, which is great, but they did just receive, I forget the exact technical of it, but didn't they just receive an investment? Or they purchased this, so you think that meant going elsewhere. Again, it's weird because I'm sure there's like some licensing issues with Nintendo.
Yeah.
The same reason why like Bayonetta 2 and 3 will never, well, I can't say never, but for the foreseeable future won't be coming in elsewhere. Because that'd be crazy if they would want to kickstart it every time. So it's a very strange story. I'm not sure. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm kind of mixed feelings about like major corporations kickstarting stuff. We dealt with the Mighty Number 9 thing. That was its own thing. Bloodstained happened. That's cool because Igarashi couldn't get Konami to okay a new Castlevania thing. He fell out with them, so he kickstarted that. We've seen bigger corporations like I believe Trigger Animation, anime studio. They've crowdfunded stuff on there, so it's not the first major company to hop on a Kickstarter and try to make something on their own without big backing on there. But at the same time, they're not an indie dev in any form or fashion. They just received a sizable investment from Tencent, who, if you're not a bit aware of who they are, is just a massive Chinese conglomeration that have been investing into everybody. They own part of Epic and Riot, and
Riot, Blizzard, Activision.
Yeah, they're everywhere. They're everywhere. Too. And so I was under the understanding, okay, they threw a whole bunch of money at them, so they're funded. They're good to go with whatever they need to do. And then they're basically seemingly going to launch a Kickstarter. Now, as of right now, this is rumored. So maybe by the time this episode's up, we might have the answer to this. Whether this is legit or not, what is this exactly for? I don't know. And I'm curious to see if this actually materializes into something and if they get the go-ahead to even put it on Switch or not. So I'm
surprised it just didn't get a Switch port off the rip because Bayonetta 2, which was, a Platinum game exclusive to Wii U, got a port right over. I mean, 1 and 2 got a port right over to Switch. And I know Nintendo has more stake in that, and because of them is why those games exist. But they have a sequel, another, the third one in the trilogy coming out. So it's just strange that you think with you think were working so close together that they'd be like, yeah, well, of course we'll bring your underwhelming, and I never really heard much. I remember seeing the IGN review.
Yeah, when that came out. Yeah.
When it first came out, and I never got around to purchasing it because it was stranded on Wii U.
And it's just strange that the rumor is that they had pitched it to Nintendo and Nintendo wasn't interested, which sounds nuts to me because Nintendo's bent over backwards to port literally everything off Wii U of relevance to the Switch. So Wonderful 101 is one of the more prominent titles on the Wii U, and that's not hard to do. There wasn't a ton of games, especially once you remove the first party out of there. Third-party prominent games, Wonderful 101, you get No More Heroes, you get Tokyo Mirage Sessions. There's only a couple. So hearing Nintendo not interested in that when they've literally brought over everything else from the Wii U, that surprised me. So that we'll see ultimately how this plays out.
For sure.
And I would imagine we're gonna hear about it sooner rather than later. I'm expecting in the next week. They say rumor was Monday.
So they're saying Monday, February 3rd.
Okay. So as of filming this, that's tomorrow. So we'll see.
Yep.
All right. The second story we have is no Switch model. This is from Sean Keane at CNET, and what they said is Nintendo boss Shintaro Furukawa told investors that the company has no plans to release another version of a hybrid console this year. Now, this is fresh off of months and months and months of rumors on all different types of forums that there is a Switch Pro model incoming. To kind of play off of, they got the Switch Lite as a lower end SKU. You got the regular Switch that maybe will be phased out at some point, but as of right now remains a very active part of the Switch ecosystem. And then a Switch Pro model to keep up with newer consoles, maybe native 1080p. I would imagine being a little bit more expensive because whatever graphics chip they're going to use on there is probably not the cheapest in the world. I'm not a tech expert, but it seems like in a kind of a stockholder shareholder meeting, they said as of right now there is no plans, but we have to keep in mind that they said the same thing about the Lite, and here we go. I take Nintendo's statements with like a grain of salt, kind of, because you have to read it very specifically. It's like we have no plans to release it in this fiscal year maybe, but then they find a loophole and then it comes out in a couple months. So I wouldn't say that this definitively kills it. It might kill it in the next few months, but I wouldn't be surprised if like holiday this year or maybe the next fiscal year they got something lined up and then they announce it that way. So
yeah, for sure. You gotta remember this is the same company that made a DS, DS Lite, DSi, DSi XL, and then they switched to a 3DS, which is yes, it is the sequel to DS, but then you have 3DS, 3DS XL, new 3DS, new 3DS XL, new 2DS, and new 2DS. I mean, that's what they do. Yeah. And the Switch is running. This is now the fourth year.
2017.
So we're on. The hard. This day and age. You replace your phone every year. The PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X sold really well. So you think Nintendo would be like, well, people want a stronger Switch. I thought 2020 would be a good year for them to do it, which is why I've been avoiding getting a Switch Lite or getting the new red box improved model Switch, because you think this year when you're getting the Xbox Series X, PlayStation 5, you'd want to be able to say, well, we got a new thing too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because for sure people are gonna buy a new Switch. They announced a Switch Pro. I'm gonna buy a Switch Pro.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I want better battery life.
Day one.
They don't have to get into too many specs, but like better battery, better screen. Maybe fix the Joy-Cons. I have a lot of problems with Joy-Cons. And you sold me. You just sold me right there. The only reason I didn't get a Switch Lite is because we were getting the Pro. I don't know, maybe if this comes from maybe the Switch Lite maybe not selling what they wanted it to.
Yeah, maybe.
So they're trying to get people who are all saying that. Because the rumor was even before the Switch Lite is like they're making 2 more versions.
Yeah.
A handheld specific version, which makes sense. And then a Pro version that would do better docked.
And I'm kind of mixed on it because the thing is, like, if there's one group that they're not going to straight up blatantly lie to, it's their shareholders. So I got to take that with some degree of stock, because this is not some random person on Twitter being like, hey, where's the new Switch model? And they're like, we have nothing to announce at this moment. They're their robot response to everything. This is their stockholders. So, I mean, it's worth at least taking somewhat seriously. But at some point, they have to re-examine their strategy. The next gen is incoming, and we're going to talk later about that on the show. It's incoming in some capacity. So they need to keep up in some degree, because if they want, they're gonna have their first party games, and that's beautiful, and they'll have their Zeldas and their Marios and maybe ARMS too. Who knows what they'll have on it in the next Splatoon. But if they want any kind of third party support, they have to be there ready, not day one, but in some capacity to bring over something. Because when new consoles are going towards more 4K common across the board, they say 8K, but that's besides video streaming, there's no way they run that natively. But 60 FPS standard, this 540, 720p, 30 frames per second thing is going to be a harder sell. And I know for some people that's super normal now. I don't have a 4K TV, it's no big deal. But I mean, at one point they said, oh, HD 720p, I don't have a HD flat screen TV, it's not relevant. So it's just a matter of time. You kind of have to future think and future proof yourself. And I think if they want to remain competitive, they have to make it a developer-friendly ecosystem and have hardware that can keep up to be ported. Because how are you going to have a 4K SKU and then a 720 SKU for the same game? You're going to run into issues. But hey, you got to give developers like Bethesda credit. Doom Eternal is coming there day one.
It is day one,
and now, that's going to be demanding.
How is that going to look? I mean, have you seen Doom?
Yeah,
on Switch.
A lot of concessions.
Yeah. The Witcher. Well, I know The Witcher's kind of a hit in there because The Witcher is an older game, but that's a game that pushed launch models of Xbox Ones and PlayStation 4s. If you had a base one, it turned your system into an engine, because that thing was running crazy. So when you think
there's still a lot popping now.
Yeah, exactly. There's still a lot popping now. And I have a pretty strong PC, and it does it on some of those cutscenes. It's depending on what settings you have it on. So when you look at something, Doom Eternal is the big one that's going to really decide, because I've seen what it looks like on, through preview events and stuff like that, Xbox and PC, and what it looks like there. I'm so curious to see what it's going to look like on Switch. And what I think that's going to be the deciding factor. Third parties are going to look and they're like, well, that game looks like that. I mean, they remastered Assassin's Creed 3, and if that is terrible, it runs. Some people stand by it, but it runs terrible on Switch, and that's a 2011 game, I believe, or something.
That's current and last gen stuff.
So for that not to be able to run well is just surprising.
I just wonder when you got Halo Infinite coming out, you got Last of Us 2, you got Ghost of Tsushima, and then all the next gen stuff. You got Godfall, you got Ubisoft's slate of stuff. You're gonna have what I would imagine Horizon Zero Dawn 2, whatever that comes out.
Sequel.
You're gonna have these games that are really pushing the envelope. Nintendo has, and you don't want Nintendo only in the position where they only have the first party stuff, because that's a lot of people who defend Nintendo. That's what they say. They say, oh well, they got Zelda, they got Mario, that they can hold their own with just their first party, and the indie scene, that's great too. But we've seen that in them in that position before, and you never. A healthy ecosystem is having everything, having your first party, having your second party, maybe having a little third party support too. You have the indie scene. You want the full ecosystem there. You don't ever want to be super front loaded with just your main IP, because then you run into the same issue that Xbox is struggling with now, and you run into the same issue that Nintendo struggled with the Wii U years, where you just lack that support of having other people bringing their stuff there. So I'm curious to see what the future of Nintendo holds. Yeah. I hope for the best of them, and I think they're smart enough to figure something out. They're gonna figure something out.
Give us a Pro. I think it's just, I think they know we want it again. Just give us a Pro. Give us a stronger version. I'll buy another Switch. It's just the issue. A stronger Switch a lot of times means a worse battery life, so how they're going to juggle that remains to be seen. That's true. I wish the best for them. That's also true. So next on the news list, actually quick mentioning that there is a new Animal Crossing Switch bundle. Beautiful. It's a nice mint color. I like the little design on the back. So I still have Amazon. I'm waiting on Amazon to put that. Oh yeah, they put that up so I can pre-order. It's there. Pre-order. Whether it comes to my house and I don't cancel it beforehand remains to be seen. But I'm pre-ordering. We'll see. That. Yeah, will I buy? I don't know. Yeah. But I think I want at least the Joy-Cons. I don't know if I necessarily need the whole dock setup, but I want at least the Joy-Cons. Yeah, I wish they would just sell the Joy-Cons. I'm sure in some capacity it'll probably go up for sale. Yeah, but you always have to import them from like Japan, and then it becomes a hassle. Sketch Amazon dealer. Yeah. So everyone's favorite, dead horse that they'd like to get beaten is the lack of Stadia releases. Yes. Now this was a statement, I believe, came from the James O'Connor, who had an interview. It says, Google has previously said that there are 120 games coming to Stadia in 2020, including at least 10 exclusives in the first half of the year. And it's a statement that they say won't be announcing all of them directly. Of course, not all 120 titles will be announced by Stadia team. The statement reads, as we leave it up to publishers to make the announcement and their IP games, etc. So Stadia it's trucking along. And, doing something. It's doing something. When 120 games coming to Stadia in 2020 sounds like a lot, but you have to realize that some of those are going to be ports. Oh, 100%. They keep saying like, oh, this game's coming. I'm like, well, when they announced Final Fantasy 15 is coming. I've already played Final Fantasy 15. I also even played the chibi version on iPhones and Switch. So, I understand they're still getting these older games. There's no way to incorporate them. I don't want to buy Final Fantasy 15 again. I don't want to buy Tomb Raider, especially when I know it's announced that it's leaving Game Pass, but it's on Game Pass, or, I can get it on a Steam sale for $5. Why would I pay $45, $50, $60 to stream it? It's a hit and miss. And, they kind of just talk in circles a lot, like 10 exclusives, timed exclusives, because I think still there's only one exclusive to Google Stadia, and it's a small indie game. It's like a small game, like a small horror game. Yeah, I just don't understand. Again, Stadia is just it's like everyone's always said, it's a half-baked idea. When next systems come out, I mean, even the Xbox Project Cloud that's in beta now, like some people have it already. Better, you've already dabbled into it. Love it. Yeah. I've seen people stream Destiny 2 through that stuff, and then I've seen people do Destiny 2. I don't know if it's on Stadia, but I saw someone's. I think it is. Yeah. I think it's on Stadia, and it's a game like that. It's too twitchy, and you need too much of a precise. Again, Stadia's just in a bad spot. And I have actually I take issue with this statement, because it seems like they're kind of pawning it off on the publishers, when it's it's up to you guys to figure this all out. It's your platform. So when you guys, it's up to the publishers to decide when they're going to put games on our platform. It's it's up to you guys to make the proposition better for them to want to put their games on there. Yeah. And the fact that this launch didn't come coupled with some kind of subscription service, so you don't have to pay for a whole bunch of old games out of pocket. Newsflash, I'm not buying Final Fantasy 15 for the third time, full priced, to stream it, that you won't own it, you can't play it offline.
it's not an interesting proposition. It's just a terrible idea, and people crapped all over Stadia. So I'm not gonna reiterate anything that's already been stated, but they need to figure out something. And 120 new games, that's cute, and it sounds like a lot until you compare it to other platforms. Like, how many Switch games exist? How many PlayStation games come out?
PlayStation, what the PlayStation, announces every week, what's coming to PlayStation, and there's like 30 games.
Is it 120 new games? Is it 120 exclusives? Or are you getting a Stadia port of Super Meat Boy? Like
that's
what are
the
you
thing, it's just like, we're gonna get Castle Crashers remastered again, or you gotta expect like 120 games. RE2, Resident Evil 2 will probably be on there.
Probably.
Resident Evil 3 probably won't be on there at launch.
No.
I don't think it's announced. You gotta think.
I didn't see the Stadia logo.
I didn't see the Stadia logo. It's just so it's in a weird. It's just again, blaming the developers kind of thing.
I don't like that.
It's the same thing when the games weren't running at 4K. They're like, the game can't run at 4K. They're like, that's the developer. And I'm sure there's a lot of talk and science behind the scenes on who does what, who's responsible for what. As a consumer, that's not what we need to see. We need to be able to purchase our game. I mean, for the same price, if I was playing Borderlands on PC, or if I was streaming it on Stadia launched with Borderlands 3 when it came to Stadia came without like most of the patches, like problems that were solved in early October, November.
Yeah, it's old
whenever
build, yeah.
They have an old build. So why would I pay for almost the same price a lesser version of that? This just makes no sense to me.
And to avoid going on a long Google tangent, which I have done on my private time many times, what I'll say is my main issue with Stadia existed before Stadia was launched. I don't trust Google with these initiatives. There's an entire website dedicated to various projects and ideas that Google has launched and scrapped and given up on. And so we've seen this time and time again. I have yet to be sold on Stadia, and for me, time will tell. Give me a couple. Yeah. I'll wait a year or two. I'm gonna give them a shot. Let me see what you got. So I want to see what games end up on there. But as of right now, I see zero reason to invest in this ecosystem.
Yeah.
We already see existing entities like Microsoft tackling the streaming thing and already surpassing it, in my opinion. I have the little phone mount with the controller, and I was playing that, and it's essentially a streaming Xbox Switch. And what more could I want?
I mean, you can stream. You can now sync your Xbox One
for sure,
and your DualShock 4 to your phones. And you can assume the new, handheld and the new controllers will as well. So it's just, who's this for? And again, I know we're already on a tangent. We're saying we're not going on a tangent. Why is it the only people that we see like enjoy Stadia are people that were kind of given it? Yeah. And I'm not saying it's like paid to review or whatever it is, but like the most people, there's one YouTuber specifically, I'm not gonna mention names, not to anything, that she only keeps talking about how good it is, but she was also given it.
Yeah, you didn't put no money into it.
And she lives like, in an area that has super crazy Wi-Fi, and she's the anomaly. Like, they're like, it's for people like that. Well, people like that don't have internet.
Exactly.
People aren't like that everywhere. We can't stream. We can't stream it. Yeah, give me the option to download, and we'd be having a different conversation.
Yeah, like if you don't live in LA or Tokyo, this basically doesn't work for you. Exactly. So, all right. The next story is an update on an older story that we heard about. It's tariffs will not be impacting consoles. So basically, the way I can describe this is the United States and China have kind of agreed on a new trade agreement. Now, a couple months back, there was a lot of concern because with this new launch, if you don't know, consoles are pretty much produced and made. All the parts come from China. So if there was kind of tariffs on imports into the United States, that would dramatically rise the price of consoles. But it seems like there was a bit of a trade agreement that they kind of figured out. So that's not going to be the case. Now, newsflash for y'all that don't know, these new consoles are going to be expensive as hell to begin with. So don't expect cool with this, so it's going to be cheap. No, it's going to be as expensive as hell. These are still super expensive parts, but we're not going to be looking at $1,500 consoles at least. So
yeah, that's what you're thinking again. And I know that people are like, at a certain point, just make a PC, and it's fine. I have a PC, but the convenience of a console is easy. So again, people there's no stake, but the numbers are pretty much everyone's saying, it's going to launch at 500.
Probably, yeah.
And that sounds about right. I could see more. I don't see less. I mean, if they came out and said Xbox Series, X is going to be $400, I just don't see a world. The Xbox One launched at 500.
Yeah, there's no way. And we'll get more into that with the next gen discussion.
We'll see where it comes from. So to end off, we have two EA updates. So
Yep.
I'll take the first one. In a call with investors on Thursday, Chief Financial Officer Blake Jorgensen
I don't know.
said EA expected Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order to sell 6 to 8 million copies by March 31st, the end of EA's fiscal year.
Yep.
Now they're pretty much saying the game sold a lot more, and they're expecting to hit 10 million units, which is it's bold of them.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong, the game is good, and I think that's what got around is people. You remember, they launched it at a good time. The Rise of Skywalker was in theaters. People were on this thing.
Respawn magic too.
The Respawn people. You had a lot of Respawn, not fanboys, but people really liking Apex Legends. So they're like, oh, this is the next game by them. Completely different game. These are the guys who made Titanfall 2. I didn't think they could kind of nail this. I'm glad they did. I purchased them. Yeah. I gave them, I was like, yo, you guys did good. Here's my money. Got the game. And it's really good. And it stands, because EA was those big guys who were saying, single player games are dying. That quote that they came and slapped in the face with. And, times passed. They know where money stands and what to do. They're not dumb. So when everyone's trying to burn down EA and all these other companies, here is like, EA, did give Respawn the chance to do it. And, we'll probably see a sequel from them, especially at these numbers. I don't think they're going to hit 10 million units because I think the game sold is what it sold.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to have a super long tail.
Yeah, there's no real reason. There's not like a DLC coming out. There's not a season pass. I don't even think the case says it. I think this game is what it's supposed to be, a nice little
contained story.
20-hour contained story. We probably will see a sequel.
Oh, we're seeing a sequel.
With EA, we're going to see a sequel. But way later down, hopefully when, they have the time to really just knock it out again. Yeah,
I mean, I really enjoyed this game, and I'm kind of mixed on it. As a Respawn fan, I'm super glad that it came out as well as it is, and I'm happy to, patron this game. I really, really enjoyed it, had a great time with it, and it's a solid experience. At the same time, obviously, I have my issues with EA, but they do say to speak with your wallet, and I definitely did not, and I bought this game, and yeah, if there's one entity in gaming that goes where the money is, it's EA, and they'll pivot on a moment's notice. They see this paying dividends for them, so we're definitely getting more of this, and I wouldn't be surprised if this one doesn't have the tail that they would like with these projections, and it doesn't meet that. You best believe it's definitely getting a sequel, and that sequel is definitely going to have DLC and microtransactions to hell. And not to get into that whole discussion, but 100% the sequel is going to have that because they're like, oh, you guys like this? Okay, we're going to get more money out of you. And on a corporate level, I understand it, but on a kind of consumer focused level, I have my issues with it. So I guess, only time will tell. We'll see.
Yeah, really, again, EA's in that spot where you got to watch them. You just have to watch
Keep an eye on them.
Support what you want to support and don't support what you don't want to support.
Yeah, 100%. And for the second half of that, we got Zarmina Khan, the writer for this. In a recent earnings call following the publication of its financial report, Chief Operating Officer and Chief Financial Officer Blake Jorgensen revealed that EA is already doing things that will quote-unquote blow people's minds. I don't want to get ahead of our great partners at Microsoft and Sony, but you should assume that the power of these consoles is going to be a lot better than the power of existing consoles. Yeah, no shit. Which means a real simple thing. We can do a lot more, said Jorgensen. And so you will start to see things over the next couple of years that we're doing with games that will blow people's minds. And the fun part of this business, because we're going to see so much innovation, not just with us, but across the whole industry. So it's kind of like a statement, non-statement. He's not saying too much, but this is kind of leading ourselves into the expectations for next generation conversation that we'd like to get into. So it seems like EA is obviously privy to what they're doing next gen. I'm curious to see what that entails. So what are your main expectations for this next gen?
So again, that was an issue with this. They're so generic. I understand they don't want to step on Microsoft and Sony because they don't want to burn that bridge or break any. It's easy to be like, I want more powerful. The real thing they've both been, Microsoft and Sony, have kind of been tongue in cheek saying is like the loading times. I know we had that weird display they did with Spider-Man, which loaded instantly instead of showing the train scene, which I thought was a fast loading in general. Eliminating the loading screens is fine. I want just a smoother game. I understand it's easier to say that as a consumer, just be like, I want a better game. And it's not that I want a better game. I want a better experience. With all this technology and all this stuff, I want the AI to be just a little bit better. That's what's one thing I give to like Naughty Dog did a lot, and I can only hope that in Last of Us 2 they double down on it, where they kind of interact better. Like initially in Last of Us 1, when Ellie's kind of running around, like people don't see her.
Yeah.
Things don't see her, so she's kind of I don't want, again, it looks like you're playing a lot solo in The Last of Us 2, so I want that kind of stuff.
More realistic.
I just
AI,
wanted that more realistic eye when it fits. Obviously, a game like The Last of Us, the game, you gotta assume the Horizon sequel, I want it to be a living thing that we get to experience. And, obviously the no load times is great. Steady frame rate, especially, recently I've been playing older games on like the PlayStation 3 and stuff. The frame rates are terrible. Obviously, of course, I want a better looking game. But I want more also just artistic power to developers.
Yep.
Because I want, like, things can look, I think we're at a point where, like, things look fantastic. But give me different experiences now. Like, I get you have the hardware, you have the stuff. Graphics can be what it is. I don't care what the game looks like if it runs bad and if it's boring and if it's not fun. You gotta remember these games are about fun and they're about experiences.
Absolutely. Yeah, it seems like if there's the main focus of next gen is just the lack of concessions and trade-offs we had to make this generation. So it was always kind of like, do you want visual fidelity or do you want a higher frame rate? And a consistent frame rate. And I'm hoping with this next gen that that's not necessarily the case. We don't have to make those trade-offs. We can have a higher resolution. So, I mean, they're aiming for 4K. 4K native's a big ask. So I'm expecting it's going to be 4K and 1080p. 720 is absolutely out of the question. There's no way that they get away with that at this point. But I'm hoping for at least a higher resolution and a steady frame rate. And we don't have to have that either or that we had this generation where it's like you have games that run like a dream. But the resolution takes a hit at points. And there's a lot of pop-in and there's like low poly textures and stuff like that. Or you'll have the beautiful, gorgeous game like Order 1886, but there's not too much there.
Yeah. Exactly.
Or you'll have a high resolution cutscene, but then the moment it gets in game, it's running. It's like, oh, okay. So I'm just hoping with this next generation that there's a lot less concessions, a lot less trade-offs. And my big thing is they need to get this backwards compatibility thing figured out. And this is mostly a message to Sony. You guys got to figure it out. Microsoft has figured it out, and I understand the cell processing thing. Y'all got to figure that out. They got to figure out something.
You got to assume, you got to assume with so much time put in.
Yeah.
Again, a PS4, look at how many, units it's sold. They're like, they might think, who needs it? People still ask for it. This is something we've been asking for. It's funny because when you put I don't know if you've ever done it. I put a PS3 disc in my PS4.
Of course. Come on.
It tells you.
Yeah.
It tells you specifically it's a PS3 disc.
Yeah.
It doesn't say cannot read disc, error. It tells you this system cannot play PlayStation 3 disc.
Yep.
Which is wild because Sony, it's all your in-house stuff. I know the PS3, they made a lot of weird nonsense with it and it wasn't easy to port. Even like monster PCs that there's only really one PlayStation 3 emulator and it doesn't run well.
No.
It runs pretty
and PS
bad.
Now ain't it.
And PS Now, is a fine solution, but it's not the solution.
Yeah.
You have to realize that your competition, Xbox has not only backwards compatible with the 360, they went even further to the original. To the point, and it's not just like a digital market. Like you can go put your Xbox 360 game in there.
Yep.
Acts as a key, unlocks it, and pretty much you download the whole game. But the thing is, my old catalog of 360 games I could just play.
Yeah.
Probably, at minimum, we know it's got to be compatible with the PS4 games. Or else
PS3.
PS3 is strange. The PS2s, they have the PS, at least bring the PS2 classics and the PS1 classics to the market. All those other rumors about PSP, Vita games,
I don't know about all that.
I would gladly love to be wrong.
I'll take it.
I'll take it. At least get the PS3s somehow on there without just defaulting to PS Now.
It frustrates me because they've built this ecosystem before. Go to the PS3 marketplace. How many PlayStation minis are on there? The PS1 games, like it's all there, and obviously the PS2 there. But then they brought PS2 games onto PS4, so they're so selective of what they're willing to do. And this is not just a Sony issue because Nintendo's done the same thing. I swear, some of these publishers have such a weird relationship with their back catalog, and I know there's certain issues with licensing. So it's like I'm not asking them to bring the old WWE games where they have to deal with the licenses, same thing with the Tony Hawk games, but there's so many first-party games. There's no one stopping them but themselves from bringing it onto current consoles and just allowing that to play. And I'm not necessarily asking them to have the Xbox solution where you put a PS2 game into a PS5 and it's going to run it natively. But just some kind of online ecosystem that already exists. Bring those PS1 games over. That it's a drag and drop thing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Emulators do it every day. Like, what's the problem?
I don't understand. It is a weird spot where they just don't. And I know it's not that they don't want to. It's just someone's not doing what they need to do. And I know it's probably a whole lot. It's a lot harder than we're saying just put them there.
Yeah.
But you're right. I understand. You get it. If you listen, you don't want to partner up with Sega and you can't play all the Sega games around PS3. There aren't many.
At least they're first party stuff, though.
But at least they're first party. I mean, I'm playing Twisted Metal, the latest Twisted Metal that was a PS3 exclusive. I shouldn't have to hook up my PS3
it's crazy.
to play it. Why can't I just play that on my PS4? Why can't I just play it? I own it. I gave you guys the money for it. Why not? Why can't I play that on my PlayStation 4? There's no reason for it. It's your title. It's your game.
If I had to guess, it's just specifically on Sony. It's definitely kind of like too many cooks in the kitchen type thing. You got Sony Japan, you got the USA branch, and then you got Europe, and they're all kind of not clicking up to what the future of PlayStation looks like. And it seems like we get these statements where it's like nobody's interested in backwards compatibility, but then you look at the numbers of what Microsoft puts out and it's like people are playing it.
Yeah, for sure.
Is it astronomical? Are people running to go play, every single 360 game out there? No, not necessarily. And I don't know if they bring backwards compatibility onto PlayStation, if necessarily everybody's like, oh, gotta play that Smuggler's Run. Like, I don't think that's necessarily the case. But just have that option available. And so if like a new game comes out, a new Mass Effect game comes out, and I want to play Mass Effect 1 again, on Xbox, it's as simple as getting that trilogy, popping it in there. Not to mention the first one's already on Game Pass, so you could just hop on that in a second. But on PlayStation, it's like, okay, Andromeda comes out on PS4, and I would like to play the previous ones, and I have a PS4. What is my options? They're just, I don't know. Yeah, figure it out. Sorry, you can't. And I just personally think that's unacceptable. At this point, when they've shown an ability to do it, and I understand PS3 is its own beast because of the way these games were developed. But PS1 and PS2, what's the issue? They have PS2 games on PS4. Yeah. And it's just limited availability.
Correct.
So what's the big deal,
Yeah, it's them just keeping their heads down too long. Because like you're saying, like even if you go like not even having to go buy games. Like again, if you were on Xbox, if you bought Mass Effect, the trilogy, digitally on Xbox 360. Yeah. And then, of course, Andromeda's coming out, and they made it backwards compatible. You didn't have to do anything except re-download it on your new console. You didn't have to dig up your old console. If, Xbox, 360s were funky with the red ring of death and their, stability and stuff like that. But because you chose to buy them digitally, they're there. And that's a big thing that's going to be able to tell people, like, especially when they're coming to launch, those games you're still in the middle of. You're still playing The Last of Us and all these other games and Ghost of Tsushima and all these different things. Day and day, hopefully you can bring your saves over. It'd be a big selling point.
Knowing Sony.
It'd be a great thing. Be like, well, you can continue playing your game. Upload it to the PlayStation Plus cloud, bring it on down to the new system, and go. Because you can kind of do that with Xbox now. Like, there's certain games where I've launched like the 360 version of it, and because of that weird xCloud, they already existed. Like my file was already there. I restarted it anyway, but it was there. The thing is, it's options. When people were like, do I spend $500 on this console or on this console? This console, you can play 4 generations of games. This one, select few titles. You gotta wait for a remaster. You gotta wait for a port. It doesn't work that way.
And the thing is, day one, I'm getting a PS5. Let's just keep it 2. I'm gonna get a PS5, and I'm gonna be there, and I'll probably get a Series X too eventually. Well, we'll figure that out as we get closer to next gen. But yeah, I'm getting a PS5, and the thing is, like, I feel like they're so close. They're so close to complete domination. They got so many things right. And it's just certain things that I feel like they're just oversight. And this is their chance to fix it. This thing is supposedly the powerhouse of all powerhouses. This massively, insanely strong console. I'm seeing crazy specs out there. And again, I'm not a PC nerd. Yeah. So I don't necessarily know exactly what everything means. The teraflops and stuff like that is cute. But this is their time, man. You get backwards compatibility right. They already got the first party exclusives. They'll have backwards compatibility, hopefully. They'll have super powerful third-party games there too. People like the controller for what they like. It'll be a great console, hopefully a competitive price point, and the generation's yours.
Pretty much.
They
ride your way to success.
Yeah. Don't give up that ground. Don't let Microsoft dominate that side of it. because I love all the platforms. I want to see them all succeed, obviously.
Of course.
And Xbox has its own set of things to figure out with the Series X. They need to get that first party game things sorted out. But
I mean, for Xbox, like my expectations for Xbox is they're going to continue what they're doing now. Yeah. And they're making smart moves. They bought these first parties.
Game Pass.
Game Pass is great. You know, for them, I think they're not going to stumble. I put pressure on Sony because they're the big ones who are going to mess it up.
Yeah. They have so much to lose.
Xbox, as long as they don't do what Xbox One was, and you got to remember, these are brand new heads, and these are the people who've helped the Xbox
Phil Spencer,
success. Phil Spencer and all these people know not to do what the Xbox One did. They know to focus games. Even now, they're focusing. They tell you it's a super strong system and it plays games. Obviously, it's going to play Netflix and Hulu and YouTube. Oh, yeah. Just I don't need to know that because we have 17 devices at the same time on our bodies that will do it.
Absolutely.
Just focus on games. So that's my thing for my expectation for Microsoft is to start cranking out good IPs.
Yeah,
like I get it.
They bought all these new teams.
You bought these new teams, and Halo Infinite, Halo 6 Infinite, whatever they're calling it, just Infinite. That'll be fine. It'll sell. It'll be nice. Gears 6 is gonna be a thing.
Yeah, at some point, yeah.
But give us new IP. You have this. Even if you go back to like their older games and start creating memorable IP. Like when you hear Xbox, people think Halo, Gears. All right, what else? You have to stand by that.
I'm curious to see what was the initiative.
The initiative is
they got something, so we'll see. They got Ninja Theory now, and so that tells me what Hellblade 2.
Hellblade 2.
I don't understand necessarily what the exclusivity is going to look like with that because I don't know how far into development they got them.
It could be an Outer Worlds.
Yeah, it could be an Outer Worlds situation where like everything going forward maybe will be Xbox exclusive, and Xbox exclusive means so much now because of the PC integration.
Yeah, especially like on Game Pass. Like Outer Worlds was on Game Pass, and I played it on my Xbox One. Then because of Game Pass, I played it on PC, and it was just there. So what exclusive means, exclusive nowadays just means it's not on PS4, to an extent because Minecraft is on PS4. Minecraft will be on PlayStation 5.
Yeah, they publish everywhere.
And the other Minecraft dungeon crawler games going to be there. So you're going to see an Xbox logo.
Yeah,
launch
on a Sony console.
On a Sony console, which is, that's happened already now with, the first time they crossed really was Minecraft on the Wii. On the Wii U, where it had that Microsoft splash screen. So it was interesting. And
they're working with Nintendo in some degree too. So it seems like Microsoft has this like play where you want approach, and we'll see if that pays off. And I hope it pays off. I do worry about them sometimes if they're gonna go full software because I feel like as their value proposition for Game Pass and their very lax approach to the way the new ecosystem is gonna be. It's like you can play on PC, you can play on our console, you can play on their console. Who cares? You can play on your phone. Mm-hmm. They're already kind of struggling to move consoles compared to their competition. I think the Switch just passed Xbox, and it's been around for like 3 years or so.
Microsoft, they don't like to talk numbers.
Yeah, so they don't talk numbers.
Keep it hush-hush.
You can only kind of do addition and subtraction through EA financial statements. Basically, that's how we get it. But I do worry sometimes that they'll have a hard time selling why you should get an Xbox console this next time around. But I'll be there day one, and I'm curious to see what they do and see what kind of generational leaps they'll make.
Yeah, hopefully these guys start bouncing ideas off, not specifically ideas off each other, but you watch the market. I hope Sony has been watching what Microsoft did with Game Pass, and
make now better.
Make now better. Project X Cloud is getting there to probably launch really full-fledged this year.
I'm sure. Yeah.
At least get it on iOS because you can't get it on iOS right now.
Oh yeah, it's Android exclusive.
It's Android. You can get it on iOS, but it's this whole big situation to get a bunch of permission. So just hopefully they learn that. Like Microsoft look at Sony and be like, well, these are big IPs, and some of them are new IPs. Horizon Zero Dawn was a brand new IP, and it sold crazy well. People love it, and again, it hasn't been officially stated it's coming to PC, and it's going to sell a whole bunch of more copies on PC. So just bounce ideas off each other. There's no reason that Sony still has to outsource an Elite style control to Scuff and to all these people. Just make it yourself. Mm-hmm. Microsoft has that. I've had my hands on that control, and it's so good because it gives you options. You want the paddles? Put the paddles. You don't.
Yeah, I've always said just take ideas, do it. They've done it before.
Just take and they take
competition breeds excellence.
They keep taking half steps. They're like, all right, here's an Elite style controller, but it's by Astro, or here's by Scuff, and I'm like, and I've tested those out. when I previously worked at GameStop, I could tell you how many times that stuff came back because they didn't work. They just don't work because they cut corners.
Yeah, so I think if there's one thing we can agree on is that going into this next generation, pretty much all parties involved are in some of the best positions they could possibly be. Sony, they're dominating on top of the world. Right. So PS5 is going to do well, for sure. So they're in a phenomenal position right now. If anything, they're going to have trouble having people switch over because of how great the PS4 has been. If there's one issue to say. And Xbox, I mean, I think they're in a great position too. Did their last console sell great? No, because I think they kind of dropped the ball on launch. But going now, they learned a lot of lessons. They have a great, I think, software system going on right now, especially with Game Pass, games with gold, and the Game Pass Ultimate thing, bundling that all together. They have all these new teams that they bought that I'm imagining are going to start rolling things out. And if they can get the schedule right and start having exclusives pop up every so often, a couple times a year, to really match what Sony's doing, I mean, I think they stand a chance. And will they outsell the PS5? Maybe not. But I think they can put themselves in a position where it's not looking like this complete domination that they sadly had to deal with this generation. So, I mean, I hope for the best of them. And then Nintendo, they're going to keep trucking along. They're their own undoing. So if Nintendo ends up in a bad position, it's going to be because of Nintendo. It's not because of anything Sony did.
Of course.
So Nintendo makes or breaks themselves. So I don't worry about Nintendo. I think they're in a great position. The Switch is selling amazingly, and I think it's going to continue selling into this next gen because even though they're going to make this massive jump, I think Nintendo has the creative thinking and powerhouse to figure out something new to make a good value proposition on their end. So
Definitely.
All right, guys. So that's our first episode of the NeoVintage podcast. I hope you enjoyed. This is going to be a weekly podcast. So we'll see you next week.
All right, guys. Take care.